Hello everybody, it is Thursday, it's December 9th, it's 2010, and this is Day 9 Daily number 225. My chair clearly needs to be oiled, because this is way louder than it should be, but that's okay, I'll just lower it so we don't have to deal with that. Hey! What's going on, everyone? Today was a little bit of an interesting daily. I'm actually still adjusting the settings around here as I begin, because I was in traffic for about 3.5 hours before getting here, because I took a little fun trip down to San Diego to visit the fine folks at Jinx, and it never occurred to me that even though the Google Maps says 2 hours back, that it would take me 3.5 hours to get back. I mean, that occurred to me, but I just didn't think traffic would be as horrendous as it ended up being. But it was horrendous! And it's dumb, because traffic in Los Angeles is like switch operated. Once it hits like 6:45, someone's just like, alright, that's enough traffic, and then it's totally free. You literally go from like stop and go between 0 miles per hour and 20 miles per hour, or 32 kilometers, or whatever it is, to straight 80 miles per hour, nothing blocking your way at all. It's dumb. It's like suddenly you just hit the finish line of the traffic and everything frees up. It's dumb and it is frustrating, but I made it! So we're 30 minutes late starting, but whatever, we started. So no big deal. In very exciting news, I did a how-to guide for streaming, for setting up your very own streaming setup, and that's on PCWorld.com. So go there, look at it, and tweet about it, and comment it, and get giddy and all that good stuff, because PC World's awesome. So yeah. Once again, go to PCWorld.com, and for any of you who do not like listening, you can just go to Twitter.com/Day9TV, and you can just click a button, and boom, it'll take you right there. The forum. Yeah. I think there was one other thing I had to say before I got into the juice of the daily. But I probably going to have a hard time remembering it, because I just like slammed right through the door and was just like, like setting everything up, like jamming burritos down my throat, consuming excessive amounts of orange juice. Inhaling excessive amounts of orange juice. Man, this is a great start, I think, to the daily number 225. Anyways, when I got through the door around 7:10, I immediately went live once my computer booted up, and then I began selecting something to do the daily on. So I literally just downloaded the QXC versus Dimaga series. They had a Gosu coaching show match. I think I know the results, but I'm not positive about it. So we're just going to watch the longest game in the series, which is a game on Xel'Naga Caverns. Makes sense. Everyone loves Xel'Naga Caverns. We can talk about that why in a moment. But I still feel like there's something I'm not remembering. I hope it's not something as severe as, like, you know, in Home Alone when they left their child in the house on accident. I'm hoping it's just something like, you know, I needed to make an announcement about something no one cares about. But you know what? You don't care about it anyway, so let's go into the game! Yeah! Here we are. We have our good friend Root QXC from Harvey Mudd College, the best college in the world. Of course, no colleges get better than Harvey Mudd, and I actually mean that pretty seriously. It really is amazing. If you're a high school student and you're looking for an amazing college to apply to Harvey Mudd. Can't go wrong. And then we have Dimaga, who is Ukrainian. I don't know where he goes to college, but you know what? If you're looking for a Ukraine to go to the one that Dimaga lives in, because apparently it turns out cool folks like Dimaga and like White Raw. Opening up the production tab, I just want to note a few things while they do whatever openings they please. Looks like Zerg's doing an Overlord on 9. Looks like QXC's walling in the front with a depot. Let's talk about why everyone loves Xel'Naga Caverns. The first, I really think, most significant reason is the expanding is easy. There is nothing blocking this. There is nothing blocking this. Sure, there's some rocks here, but you can still walk there, right? You can just take it. This expansion, you can just take it. This expansion is the only one that you really have to struggle to take, and even then, it's right along your attack route. So when you're trying to knock down these destructible rocks, you actually end up defending this, right? Because you're in the way. And when you're done killing this off, you can move straight forward to attack, right? And I think that's a pretty important thing to note, right? Pretty important. Ever played a map called Blistering Sands? You try to knock down the rocks on your gold? Ha! Good luck having anything be safe at all. You just die. But then you kill the golds off, and you're like, herp-de-der, I'll try to just get my million extra income per second. And that ends up balancing itself out. But I want to note the whole expanding idea that, you know, people like it because it's easy to expand, because that's really what causes longevity in gameplay, and really that's how the good players are thinking. They're not thinking, how do I win at 8 minutes? How do I win at 10 minutes? They're thinking, how do I get an advantage at this time? And then end up, you know, winning in the later stages of the game. It's always about later and later and later. So if there's easier and easier and easier expansions to do, it almost always feels like there's more options for players. That's why all 3 races picked this map. At DreamHack, when I did the tournament, they had this sort of like the players choose every map system, where I would downvote 2 maps, you would downvote 2 maps, then I would downvote 1, then you would downvote 1, and there would be exactly 1 map remaining. And Xel'Naga Caverns was far and away the most often chosen map. In fact, I think there were hardly any series that didn't have it as one of the maps. So everyone loves that as a result. Also, there's 2 attack paths, just some general good movement along these Xel'Naga watchtowers, but I really think that the expanding is a significant one. Another notable one is that your main mineral field is relatively tucked away, as is your natural expansion. So now let's go ahead and talk about the game. QXC is throwing down this engineering bay. Oh, how obnoxious. Oh, Dimaga now sending lots of drones to the front. Now, one thing I want to note, you can't just throw down a friggin' engineering bay. You don't just go, oh, maybe I can actually block this. Oh, BE, ta-da. You don't do that. That has to be planned. That must be planned. There is no such thing as a haphazardly thrown down engineering bay. I don't know what's with me today. I'm like inhaling everything I mean to just regularly swallow. Let's wash it down with some orange juice. Just for the record, have any of you ever seen a 2 barracks opening, such as Supply Depot, Barracks? If you decide to build an engineering bay, you suddenly can't build that second barracks, right? We're actually going to go ahead and ignore this for the time being. We're going to go back and look at QXC's main, and we're going to see how big of an effect this actually ends up having, right? Oh, look, the barracks is getting close to finishing. Wow, he might not even be able to make an orbital command in time. Yeah, look, there's the engineering bay going down. There is a finished barracks. Yeah, wow, look, you know what? He can't make that orbital command on time. He has to wait a little bit, and now we can squeeze it out. This Marine is coming out on time. QXC's now going to be returning back here, just sort of throwing some extra stuff down. But we're noticing that the second Supply Depot that Terran wants to be throwing down kind of soon, kind of eating into that a little bit. And we're even going to see that when there's, you know, the desire to have a factory down, that's going to also take a little bit of time to end up getting thrown down. So the reason I mention all of this is I just don't want people having an idea of, all right, this is the build I'm going to do. Oh, well, maybe I can throw an engineering bay in. The engineering bay is an integral part of the build. So integral. It's like actually perhaps the biggest thing screwing everything up is that engineering bay, right? Because it's not useful. You're just temporarily out $125. This stage in the game, very big deal. So Dimaga does the smart thing. He just throws down his pool, his gas, gets a queen. And this will end up balancing out. Now, on Wednesday, we did Newbie Tuesday because I couldn't get my internet functioning properly on Tuesday. And a big important thing we talked about was taking a slice of time and saying what's going on right now, ignoring everything that happened beforehand. I bring that up because in a little bit, QXC is going to be canceling this engineering bay. And I want to just wait a little while afterwards and then look at the state of the game. And then I want to say, aha, we can clearly see it is almost as though we didn't even need to, or let me rephrase that. It really doesn't matter what the order was at the start. We're going to see in a slice of time that it's basically the place it would have been if no one had messed with anyone at the start. So QXC, with his classic trademark aggression, is going to maneuver out here, and he's going to be picking off some Zerglings. Oh, wow, looks like he's going to delay this even more. That's a very nice little timing that he has done for himself. So I'm actually going to pause it. Now, I want to just give some context to a couple things. I just said at the start of the cast that I had traveled for about 3.5 hours in a car to arrive here, barely in time to do a daily, just ever so closely. So I just haphazardly downloaded some replays. Just went to sc2rep.com. There is a cool game. Downloaded it. I have no knowledge of this at all. Now, I watch replays on occasion for entertainment value if a friend links me to it. Almost always, almost all the rest of the time, I'm watching it to try to learn something. So, for example, in this game, This replay, the purpose of it is because I have to do a daily, right? That's the main motivation for me looking at this replay. But I'm going to kind of look at this from a selfish point of view. I'm going to kind of look at this from the Terran's point of view because I've been having trouble in Terran vs. Zerg, just having a general sense of how I want to open, right? Okay, so it looks like a fast starport build. Just getting some Marines, some Hellions. Oops, forgetting a depot. I don't really care too much about that. Just want to get the general theme of it. And it looks like, whoa, don't crash on me, computer. It looks like he built the engineering bay and followed it up with a couple of Marines. That seems pretty cool. I like that. It seems quite smart. Looks like it delayed that hatch even more. That's actually pretty clever. Most Zergs, Zergs have typically been making, you know, 6, 8 Zerglings when they go for this pool gas. But lately they've been cutting it down to 2 or so. So it looks like QXC counted 2 Zerglings and then just said, alright, well, I guess I'll just attack. So, I'm going to continue to be selfish and just think about things that I want to think about for my own purposes. So, it looks like he's going for Marine Hellion, getting this very fast Tech Lab starport. He has enough resources to be able to go for Cloak and the regular Banshee, but he's also throwing down a bunker. I'm trying to make sure I can think this through from the point of view of the player, because the players don't just throw down a bunch of stuff in an order. There's often a lot of thought to it. You know, like most obviously, if he's going roaches, and I only have Marines and Hellions, I should probably get a bunker, right? If he's going just Zerglings, I probably don't need a bunker. So I'm trying to think, yeah, you know what, he probably saw that roach warren, or at least some roaches out here somewhere. So he's getting that bunker. Maybe it's just a safety bunker. I'm going to kind of question it. These things I'm going to kind of follow blindly because these buildings are, you know, the obvious choices. Is he getting Cloak? Alright, cool. And it looks like he's just playing defensively with the Marines. Alright. Now, in about 4 minutes or so, once this hatches up and the Queen is pimping it out, you know, adding the larvae, this will look exactly like your, you know, regular old ZVT. Hatch is going to be up and running. Dimaga's getting a layer. Could probably get some speed there. It will definitely be able to get an Overseer. It's fantastic. QXC now getting this Tech Lab add-on. Will he do anything with it yet? Wow, he's just going to keep making Hellions. Is he going to get Blue Flame? Huh. That's kind of intriguing. Oh well, I'm going to ignore that again. As I drink my delicious vitamin C. Yep, there's the roach speed going down. Pretty typical. Trying to poke around to see if he's actually going to be doing any sort of... Is he doing any sort of Overseer? Nah, he's not doing any of that junk. No big deal. Alright, cool. So we do see the Banshee coming out right now. I'm going to try to pop out of my selfish mode for a moment, where I'm just trying to really get a sense of what he's doing. And I want to come back to this whole mid-game concept that I note all the time, because I really think it's like the most important concept in the game. Which is that in the mid-game, there's sort of this convergence. You can do all sorts of crazy openings and all sorts of funky exchanges can go on, but then you sort of hit a point where you're like, this is what I'm going for. For the most part, we see Terrans going for a little bit more of the Marine tank emphasis, so when I'm watching this, I'm thinking, well, is QXC going to be getting an orbital command and then going tank Marine? Is he going to be making a Banshee and then lifting the starport and giving it to the factory and then going tank Marine? When is he going to give this barracks a tech lab so he can get the upgrades for the Marines? I'm watching that pretty closely. Right now we don't see any sort of Expo Command Center at all. 4-5, 4-5, 4-5, 4-5. Oh, Davey left the game. Oh, I will always miss him. He's the best. So it looks like Dimaga is doing his usual Dimaga style of getting a few more queens than your average bears do. And we can clearly see this is going to help out significantly. There's the cloak. QXC doing the smart thing, picking off drones instead of queens. Queens take a longer time to kill, thus if you bring it down to 10 life and suddenly an Overseer appears, you've killed nothing, but you're almost always going to be guaranteed to do a little bit of damage on those droners. So the Banshee does do a little bit of damage, and while distracting the opponent, yeah, it looks like he's getting the orbital command. Huge key thing to note, no siege. No siege yet. Probably not going to be getting siege until the second before he ends up attacking. So that way he has more money just sort of around. Whoops, accidentally losing the Banshee, but no biggie. Continuing to build Banshees, though. That's something that, Yeah, okay, cool. That's a cool little concept I'll hold on to. Again, you hear me say in the mid game, going Marine tank, right? This opening, all the craziness that opened up, I want to know how to get to the point of Marines and tanks, and in what order. In what order? In what order? Those words just hung at the end of my sentence as though they were just an afterthought, but in what order, again, is the hard part. That's what we call strategy. You heard me even stop and say, how are these buildings going to be swapped around? It's the order, right? You don't just want to say, I'm going to open up Banshee and then I'm just going to go Marine tank. Because you'll have all these inefficiencies of, you'll build 2 extra barracks and you won't be able to build out of them because you don't have the money. Then you'll get the siege mode for the tanks, which you'll only get 1 tank out. Then you'll have all these extra Marines with nothing to do. And there's just so much sadness in this story. It's such a tragedy, such a heartbreak. But I'm real interested in this extra Banshee dish out. More Hellions coming out. I would just call that very QXC-esque. Banshee Hellion, very, very potent little harassment mix. Ooh, and Dimaga's ending up getting an infestation pit. We've seen a lot of people steer a little more clear of Mutalisks as of late. I do think the Infestor is a very cool choice. It's pretty cheap and easy to throw down. So I just recommend throwing it out. Okay, cool. So here's a really important ordering concept right now. I see a lot of Terran players eventually have 3 barracks. 2 with Reactor, 1 with Tech Lab, maybe 2 with Tech Lab, 1 with Reactor. In other words, there's going to be a Tech Lab in there somewhere for the Stim and the Combat Shield, right? Pretty obvious. But when do we get that one? And this is a really important thing. We're noticing the Reactors coming out first. It's another way of saying I don't want to push fast. I want to push eventually with a bigger amount of dudes. This gets me more dudes faster. This will end me up with a bigger army faster, but all the necessary upgrades slower. The Tech Labs, that'll probably be on these barracks, will come out afterwards. So I'm learning quite a lot. I'm actually hanging here in QXC town because I've been losing a lot of my Terran vs. Zergs lately, and I'm thinking of changing my style up a lot. And I'm seeing just a general theme of begin getting a lot of tanks early, and then begin the whole build-up of Marines, and then get these 2 barracks for 2 Tech Labs to get all the upgrades for the Marines. And it looks like he's doing all sorts of fancy little push business in between. Sorry, I'm continuing to drink this orange juice. I don't know about you, but the orange juice at the bottom of the orange juice gallon is always the best. Like the last glass of orange juice is always like the far and away the tastiest orange juice. It's tasty fucking orange juice. Man, I love orange juice. So as usual, Dimaga's multi-queen style, very unique to him. Very cool to see him use it. By the way, these 2 Tech Labs, bam, calling it, count it. And there's of course another Reactor, but still, I like the fact that this Reactor came out first. And hey, there's a trademark QXC move, so much so that I'm going to hit my B button. I'm going to hit my B button. So, one of QXC's very famous quotes is, if you're not attacking, you're probably losing. And you do generally hear me, laud people when they do the little move out, the little attacks and stuff like this. So, when I saw this, to me, honestly, when I look at this, there's not an intuition behind it. There's not an obvious intuition behind it. If, for instance, I was attacking with just Zealots and High Templar, it's obvious that I would wait for the Storm upgrade to finish and then attack, right? Right, you guys? Right? Like, it's obvious that I'd wait for that. So I'm sitting, and I start to move out, and then you go back and you see my Storm upgrade finish, and you go, aha, I totally get it. But I'm looking at this, and I'm going, well, it's not like Siege just finished. It's not like any upgrades just finished. You just kind of got some tanks, some Marines, some Banshees, some Hellions. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying what makes it good is not obvious to me initially. And that's fine. I see this attack coming, and I think in my head, oh, I want to kind of delve into this. What's actually good about it? But this is so... anyone can do what we're about to see, which is to move forward, make your opponent shit his pants, and then just walk right back. So we're going to see some pants shitting come up soon. Look at this. Upgrades and drones. Zerg is thinking long-term. He's not thinking about staying alive right now. Mr. Overlord in the middle is going to end up spotting this. There's that little poor changeling that's moving across the map. Uh-oh, seeing some tanks. And what do we see? We see another creep tumor expanding forward. Here comes Dimaga. Uh-oh, killing that off. Sees everything grouped together. Some Mariners. We see one Baneling getting made. He's going to help a lot. And then what do we see? We see all the queens begin to scuttle forward. There they go. And then look at this. All the Zerglings start getting made. We really would like a few more drones here. We'd like a few more drones here, right? All these Zerglings would have most preferably been the drones. But look at this. 22 Zerglings. That is 11 larvae. Look at QXC. He's just moving right back again. He's scanned to pick off some creep tumors. And now he's pulling way back. Now, for the record, QXC does that in a lot of his games. He will move forward with a huge force, scan, kill off creep tumors, retreat. But it's not even as sophisticated as, oh yeah, this is my anti-creep spread play. It really all boils down to the same idea that if you have a force just sitting passively, your opponent really is going to feel comfortable and not care. But if you just move forward and then move back, you can cause all sorts of damage without ever engaging in a direct conflict. Nice, nice. Now that's a tactic I talk about a lot, and I almost always pause to note the effects of it. Very big effect happening to Dimaga right now, even getting supply blocked. Didn't have the energy to make the Overlords because he wanted to focus everything he could on withstanding some inevitable doom push, or so he thought. So now QXC pulls all the way back. Now, I just want to continue to note this play. It looks like he's getting the tanks up first, and then backing up to this big Marine style. Uh-oh, looks like we don't see any of the upgrades coming out yet. Just doesn't quite have the gas. Should, I guess, be double gassing a little sooner. That's something that I would improve upon on the play. Is I would, when I expanded, I would get my double gas faster, because it just seems like we don't quite have enough energy. Yeah, there's an engineering bay coming up to maybe get a +1 upgrade, but our push is still looking really slow because we don't have any infantry upgrades. In the meantime, Dimaga looks like he's going for a hatch here. He might even be expanding for this is his next hatchery. Getting potential for double upgrades, but I'm noticing the 5 Infestors coming out right now. Infestors and Queens, very cool emphasis by Dimaga early on. Probably didn't even want to make these Zerglings in the first place. I mean, it's great that he's morphing them to Banelings now, but would have preferred those drones to come out first. But drones and Infestors, very good composition. God, this orange juice is phenomenal. I'm actually going to pause for a minute. This orange juice is so good. I cannot believe how phenomenal this is. It's like creamy at the bottom. Oh! That is some powerfully delicious orange juice. Oh my gosh, let's return back to this. Oh, wow. So, you always hear me say that with Zerg, a big key is an excuse to make drones. How do I allow myself to make drones? You make what I call power units, like Banelings, Infestors. These are things that don't actually require a lot of larvae. So you spend a limited amount of larvae. This is 6 larvae on all these Infestors. And that will delay a push significantly. Get the power units, man. Only got to spend 6 larvae to get a whole bunch of Infestors that will delay the push, do a lot of damage to it. And in the meantime, you can get Udels and Udels of drones. There's QXC trying to poke around here, but there's just a lot of stuff being scary to him. Now, I really think Dimaga should have thrown down an extra hatch right here a lot earlier. He had the money to do it. May have been under panic mode, but I do think he could have done that significantly earlier. Now, for the record, should have gotten Combat Shield. There's no reason this attack, shouldn't have Combat Shield. He should just really have Combat Shield. Looks like Dimaga is just continuing to sort of hold out. Some poor spotting right here. Not seeing that at all. Wow, did he actually not see that in the slightest? Yeah, he had no vision of this. And it's just, oh, surprise tanks. And then he sort of advances forward, and oh yeah, there's more tanks. Getting some good transfuses off. Hey, transfusing each other. And of course, the good old swarm of Zerglings. And QXC doing the smart thing, spreading everything out very, very well. Infestors now coming into the fray. Banelings, I think, are moving up a little bit too early. I'm definitely going to give this current advantage to Dimaga. Or, excuse me, it's QXC. Man, I just really wish that he'd waited for that combat shield. As you see, 1 stim plus fungal growth equals dead Marines without a combat shield. We see QXC just getting a very clear lead right now. So yeah, Dimaga with the just lol. I think it's because he just didn't have any spotting there. Probably could have prepared for it, but literally had nothing. 0 units, so it looks like he's going to come here with the Infestors. Oh no! Some very late Infested Terrans. I'm kind of barbling right now, not even doing too much analysis, just because I think this is an interesting part to the game. Again, I watch replay for entertainment value myself. And I think Dimaga's doing the reasonable response, which is just to throw down as many Zerglings as he can, just sort of an emergency backup sort of force. And now, again, you heard me say all the time, how is QXC going to play this matchup? How is he playing it off? Looks like he's not even getting an extra geyser here. I like that. That makes sense. Cool little barracks placement here. Could be using it, though. Doesn't look like he is. Getting an extra command center. Typical stuff. It looks like this is when he gets in his stride, when he has these 4 barracks, this factory, and this starport. So Dimaga's going to do the smart thing, just pull back. I do think that the little one said this, that if you're investing a lot of money into keeping an expansion alive, sometimes it's more worthwhile just to let it die and to regroup. And I think that this regroup by Dimaga was a little bit late. I definitely do indeed think this. But in the meantime, Dimaga's just continuing to spread the creep in a very justifiably awesome fashion. Smartly putting the creep tumor to the far side, but QXC kind of seems to be everywhere at once. Combat shield finally going down. Ew. And, you know, the last thing that I would probably end up noting, I'm all into, like, the numbers of buildings we have at certain times. So what I would call Phase 1 is these 3 buildings, right? Right at the start of the game. And then Phase 2 would be adding on these 2 barracks and then this 3rd one, right? So that way we can get our double tech lab ups and then we can get tons of mariners. But then I'm starting to notice that, yeah, look at all that excess money up there, right? Even without seeing what QXC is going to do, I see what QXC is doing in the present and I see money left over. So I think, cool, how am I going to spend that money? So again, Phase 1 was these 3 buildings. Phase 2 was having all of these 6 buildings. Then Phase 3, I'm seeing, yeah, we really got to start adding on barracks and another factory as we're getting this command center, because we just end up with so much money. So, I mean, I'm even just noting things like, wow, QXC's at like 144 food. I guess when I'm at like 124 food, I need to be building those barracks. So I'm just establishing timings in my head for myself to steal next time, some of which are right, some of which are wrong, all of which are good to just have on the table at the outset. QXC in trademark QXC fashion, doing a drop. Notice the timing of the drop, dropping and expanding at the same time, very good. Getting them double ups. Nothing wrong with kind of having these guys teetering over here. Here come the Infestors. This is the one danger of trying to drop someone who has fungal growth. Just spamming the Infested Terran. He doesn't care where they end up. He just infest, and here they're sort of warbling along. Oh wow, they can hit that. I had no idea. Fantastic, nifty. I want to note something that's super important that a lot of good Zergs do. They expand here and here. These are very far away for the Terran to attack. He kind of has to commit to one. And you end up always having like the decision advantage, I'd call it, with all this creep spread. If there's a drop up here, with Zerglings, we can just blitz all the way up here really easily. And we can blitz all the way back pretty easily. But for Terran, if Terran like attacks here, I mean, not only is he kind of stuck over here to the side, but counterattacks are suddenly really vulnerable. So you can defend, you can counterattack. If Terran puts on so much pressure to one expansion that you can't hold on to it, and you lose it, well, hell, you're guaranteed to have this other expansion up. I mean, if Zerg had expanded here and here, if Terran is able to kill one, then he's able to kill both, like guaranteed. So another easy way to say that is that if you have a very fast army and your opponent has a very slow army, the fast army person should be expanding very far away to some very, very far, wide spread out locations. The slower army person kind of has to expand inward, kind of stay defensive, stay just crunched inward. There we see the layer going up. No Spire at all from Dimaga, just relying on Queens and Infestors as the anti-air. And Zerglings and Banelings is the anti-motherfucking everything. Yes, indeed. Pow. There's Root QXC with the good old Marauder play. Looks like he's getting just more Marines. Okay, cool. You know, I honestly think the QXC could have double engineering bay. That's something that I would probably want to change, but I'm really loving the way he's transitioning up. This is just fantastic. I'm loving it. And Banelings are pretty good. So that worked out well. Still making lots of Zerglings, though. This is just great play by Dimaga. I just love this whole Zergling Baneling thing. Like, the only Zergling Baneling. Like, no Mutas, no Roaches, or even Hydras to support. Some of you scoff at the idea of the Hydralisk, but people still use them pretty frequently, especially on Data Korea server. Still continuing to mass Zerglings. Oh, hey, I'm gleaning quite a bunch from this game. But this is, I think, the important phase in the game, this sort of late game, of how people attack what, right? There were some timing pushes. We saw this timing push do a good job knocking this down. We do know that these Hellions do have the Blue Flame upgrade, so I'm going to stop all analysis just to hope that these things kill off a lot of stuff. Oh, we forgot about him. Oh no, you remembered about him. Go Blue Flame Hellions! Hooray! This is probably my favorite thing in the game is the Blue Flame Hellion, because it's the closest thing to a Reaver drop, which was like my favorite thing in Brood War. But okay, so everyone has finally gotten to get what they want up, right? This is pretty important to note, because you guys listen, all right? Look. He said, trying to crack his knuckles, but no noise was made. So, I think everyone's familiar with the following idea of, this is the opening I want to do, so I need to worry about the openings that he wants to do. Cool, right? In other words, you're in a situation where everyone is sort of free to do the decisions that they want, and your goal is to figure out what to do next, is to have some sort of goal with your build order. It sounds very, very vague until we start thinking about after those opening stages. So let's take a PvZ early expand build where I do some crazy timing push as Protoss. What do most Protosses do, especially those who just figured out the timing push? Well, they hope it does a lot of damage, and when it does, they add more units, and then they expand and add more units, and then they win. Great, right? Like, for instance, QXC did this timing push, and he killed off this expansion. Great. Most of the time, the game is won. Maybe you don't win right then, but in 5 minutes, 99% of the time, the game's done. This game is a 1% of the time situation where we hit a spot where both players look fine. They look fine, right? They look absolutely, totally fine. This Zerg has just now gotten his gold up. Terran is now gearing up to get his 4th. Terran also has this gold mining. Terran has a lot of stuff. I think that Zerg maybe would like this to have a little more saturation, but other than that, looks pretty damn even. Pretty damn even. Pretty damn even. So a really important question I have is how each player is going to end up trying to press his advantage. Right? What is a good goal at this phase in the game? Similar to how an opening's goal might be something like, I am going to Banshee harass, so I have time to expand and get my tanks out. Right? That's an opening goal. But now that we're in the mid-game goal, I'm thinking of something like, as Terran, I'm going to slowly walk tanks forward along this edge, and I'm going to use Marines and Marauders to dip down the weaker side and try to deny his gold. And once I've denied his gold, I'm going to sort of gear up here. That's not a particularly complex thing to state, but it's so super important that you have a late game goal like that, similar to how you have an early game goal with your opening. I strongly recommend you watch Phoenix against Drewby Game 5 in the semifinals of the Intel Extreme Masters New York Comic-Con American qualifier thing, right? Just look up Phoenix versus Drewby ESL, and you should find it, or IEM. In that game, Phoenix did exactly that in a Terran versus Terran, right? We saw Phoenix had his gold, Drewby had his gold, and Phoenix would sort of dip up here. Oh, no, there's tanks there. So then he'd dip up here. Oh, no, there's tanks there. And then he'd dip up here. Oh, he moved his tanks. Attack, sprint, do a bunch of damage. Oh, here come the tanks. Dip all the way back. And then, okay, let's poke up here again. He just did this seesaw motion. Oh, excuse me. No, sorry, some of the orange juice tried to come back up. So that's pretty freaking important. So I'm definitely looking for that. Because I think that anyone, once they have, you know, like a million unit producing structures, is pretty competent at just spamming a bunch. The last thing I also want to note, before this attack happens, last thing I want to note, what did I do at the start of the game? I said, the engineering bay is going down, and I don't care, right? The engineering bay is going down, I'm going to ignore it, because soon enough, we'll never, ever, ever know. At this phase in the game, it's almost hard to comprehend that an engineering bay block happened here at the 5-minute mark. And more importantly, no one really cares. People are thinking sort of forwardly. But the problem comes when you start internalizing these feelings that are wrong in your body, right? When you engineering bay block someone, you're going, ha, I bet he hates me, yeah. And then he's taking forever to get his expansion up. I'm clearly in the lead. And then you hit a point like this, and instead of thinking calmly and cool-headedly, these are the steps I need to take to win, you think things like, why the hell am I still playing this game? I had it won. I blocked him with the eBay. So it looks like QXC is going to be pushing from his 4. That is how I would state that. I think that's significant to note. It looks like Dimaga is just going to be sort of holding, defending, and trying to get up a lot of expansions. And he will end up bum-rushing this planetary fortress, which I don't think is a terrible idea. With that count of Zerglings, he can pick off most of the SCVs in the process. And it looks like he ends up justly doing so. So, okay, QXC is looking very, very high on the money. So, of course, I always just want to note numbers here. So there's 3 barracks, so 7 barracks. I guess next time I'm in a situation where I'm ending up taking my gold, I want something like 10 barracks, I guess. 10 barracks. 10 seems reasonable. Maybe 9 barracks and then 2 engineering bays upgrading regularly. Something like that. I just want to make sure I explicitly state these numbers. Instead of going, oh, my money's high, I guess next time I'll keep my money low. No, next time I will build this incredibly key number more. And Dimaga's just doing a brilliant job keeping his food low, but keeping his money low. But I'm still noticing that there's a huge food differential in between these two players. It doesn't look like QXC's getting any medevacs. Wow, no medevacs. I don't know exactly what my opinion is on that, but I'm at least going to keep that in mind. There's the Blue Flame Hellions getting taken down. For the record, Zerglings are actually pretty damn good against Blue Flame Hellions when you have creep. The Hellions don't actually get to do that much damage because the Zerglings wrap around so quickly. So I guess I would state this as when the going gets tough, I do sort of swing around on the edge attacks. And oh, cool. So it looks like QXC can also end up encroaching from the side like this. But I still think that QXC is in a little bit more of an awkward situation. Because look at this creep! Oh gosh, this lets him get everywhere so quickly. He was just up here holding off an attack a few seconds ago, and now he's all the way back down here killing off Tanky. But I still think this is kind of a cute little idea that, you know, if you ever get the chance to work your way down to this right side, that you can do this sort of tanking. But still, I don't actually like this. I don't actually like that things are still here. I think it would have been better if these had all been unsieged, retreated back along this edge, and then pushed for a huge, huge giganto push on the left instead of a bunch of small pushes. Because, I mean, this sort of thing happens, right? This is so easy for Zerg to just smash this in a few seconds. Go, nibble, 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 nibble. I would probably unsiege this if I were Dimaga. Just to buy a little extra time. So it looks like QXC doing the usual smart thing, just picking off the edges. Bang, 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 getting Mariners and Marauders. And Dimaga again arrives seconds later with his whole frickin' army. So I'm still trying to get a sense of what is QXC's theme, what is his goal here. And it looks like he just wants to push from his fort. He wants to siege things up here and walk troops out the front and then pick this off. Most people end up pushing from the gold. In fact, most people end up not taking this fourth, which I think is pretty cool. They don't take the fourth, they just try to push aggressively. But man, Dimaga's in such a great spot. So it looks like Dimaga's goal is to just take these these 3 expansions, this one on the left, this gold, this bottom right, and to kind of deny this one, but there should be a lot more scouting there. Because this is a very easy expansion to forget about as Zerg, because you're always thinking Terran's going to be super low, and you're just going to end up out-expanding him inevitably, but alack no. I'm a little behind on them upgrades. Cool. Coolio. And there's QXC continuing to push. Look at how fast all the Zerglings are. Trying to be everywhere at once, but yeah, QXC's still just poking and prodding along the sides. I'm still not getting a sense of a big attack. I mean, this is fine. I mean, there's nothing bad about getting him to cancel something, but you're just not going to win with one medevac just poking around, especially not when it gets gacked up by fungal growth like that. Oh, getting beach balled up on the high ground. Another fungal growth going to be happening in an inevitably short period of time, such as right then. And oh, it lives. And taken down. Taken out. Taken out. Taken out! Alright, awesome. Yeah, what is the goal? What is the goal? I'm just not seeing it. Well, I mean, more factories going down, but stuff hanging here. Why is stuff hanging there? Stuff should be getting sieged up here. He should be encroaching onto Zerg territory. I mean, all these tanks are just so far back. He's sieging up there. Oh, QXC, and he's running around the edges. So I guess, yeah, it looks like Dimaga has found a hole, which is the front door. He realizes he can just march directly in here. And there's just been so much freedom from Dimaga. Just sort of move around the map. There's been no direct threats in the center. There's just been this sort of run around a route play. But this is just looking really free for Dimaga. And it's so easy at a point like this to get really frustrated with yourself as Terran and just go, oh, but I was in the lead, I got that engineering bay thing down, and that's just, you just shouldn't do that, because you'll only get angrier and you won't actually hit to the heart of whatever the problem is. So I think Dimaga is clearly winning. So I'm actually going to remove this overlay for a moment, and I want to come back to around here and see exactly what was going on. This is right when QXC was going to do that first push. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of this good action go on. Just lol, says Dimaga. By the way, something that Dimaga did that's cool, you can actually go and drop a changeling next to the tank, and your enemy's tanks will just hurt that other tank by shooting at the changeling. It's kind of a free way to drop some units on it, because it's just energy. But I mean, I honestly think that if all this were unsieged and pulled back and then reoriented to sort of a center push, kind of in a way that OGS, the STC, is really good at doing, then definitely this gold would have been shut down, and possibly this hatch. This is a little easier to shut down. I mean, if you have units poking in here trying to shoot at this hatch, like you're like right here or something like that, then this ends up being a lot harder. Likewise, if Terran actually just sieges up here and then cups around this back way, then Terran can take this back expansion really easily as well. Yeah, you know, see, like, okay, so now I'm starting to sort of coagulate in my mind the thing that bugged me a little bit. So I always think that the big key is, how do you expand freely? Where do you get your extra expansions up? So great, QXC's doing this. Let's ignore this for a moment. Let's say QXC just had this. If QXC had taken all these forces and moved it to here to sort of chew away at this, you heard me say this already, this expansion would become easier to take, right? With Terran having the main, actually just look at the minimap, just look at the, like my mouse on the minimap. So if we have the main, this expansion, and this one, it's very clear that this area of the map and this area of the map are really the only two locations that we need to protect. So, hell, we got a planetary fortress and our rally point, and then we have our entire attack force. That's why this thing is so protected. But if we go for this one, if we go for this expansion, where is the most logical place to attack? Here. This is very logical, because again, this is kind of protected for the same reason as before, and this will help protect this expansion, right? That seems great. So by expanding here, we're basically declaring that this is where we want to be focused with our units, just because that's how we defend our expansions, right? Our expansions should be kind of behind our attack. But at the same time, all these units are over here. This is what really bugs me. 2, no, okay, so that's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 17, 9. Yes, it's about 25, 30 food chilling over here that could have been participating in this attack. And these two tanks actually should be participating in this attack because, you know, same logic. We want to have everything devoted to this attack because it'll help defend this expansion a little more. Because I think that this was a pretty key moment in the game because Dimaga just got to kill off a free small army and then got to kill off an expansion. I do think QXC was still looking a little bit comfortable. I just think he should have refocused, regrouped his attack with these forces, and then expanded here. Or pulled back all these forces, regrouped, attacked here, and then expanded back here again. I think that would have been pretty nifty. Pretty nifty. Also in the upgrade war, I mean, Dimaga is like 3-3 in this game. He's going to be 3-3 soon, as we know. But, yeah, so honestly, from that game, what I felt like my head was learning was, from Dimaga, just a couple of key things. Just the idea that he's kind of going queen heavy at the start. He's still getting that Zergling with speed upgrade, not really using it. He's using the Roaches as sort of a stepping stone unit. He only got 8 Roaches the whole game, and there were the 8 Roaches at the start. He uses Roaches and the Queens as sort of a stepping stone to hit this Infestor Zergling Baneling, which he goes predominantly through the early, middle, and late game. And then just expands a bunch. Cool. I kind of get Dimaga's play. That's all I really wanted to glean from that. But from QXC's, I learned quite a bit more, because again, that's what I was focusing on. About the idea of doing the Banshee harassment and getting the Marines and the tanks up, doing the Banshee and the Heli and stuff at the start, but then the order in which he got the reactor on the barracks, and then he got 2 more barracks with tech labs, and then he was pushing out, how he was expanding when he was attacking, the fact that he was getting quite a few Marauders in there, because again, people watched Marine King Prime, and they're like, I guess I should only make Marines no matter what. So that was kind of cool to see QXC do that. I even learned that after he gets those key 6 structures, the 4 barracks, the factory, and the starport, that he really does need to begin adding on a ton more barracks, and then when he takes his gold, add on yet a ton more, and upgrade more. And other than that, I mean, I really think QXC played a pretty marvelous little game there. He just needed to regroup his attacks and just stay a little bit more focused with them. But yeah, big props to Dimaga for having a really awesome way to play. Now, I will state for the record, because I've been driving, I actually drove down to San Diego this morning and then drove back, so I'm so tired. You see me rubbing my eyes. I'm tired. I'm also supposed to go out and socialize tonight. I don't know how that's going to happen. Alright. Let's see here. I will... I'll take 2 questions. Yeah. Yes. So. Let's see here. What is a reasonable question? So, Parasite01 asks an interesting question. Says, Dear Day 9, do you think blind Engineering Bay block will fade out of the game as the game progresses, seeing that any time of cheesy 6 pool, 8 pool, 10 pool, or 7 roach rush kind of allows you for a free win? I think that the doing it blindly will definitely get phased out because, honestly, doing anything blind is kind of dumb. I mean, you'll even see that there were preparations made by QXC to account for this, like, I hit my wonderful T-Hockey. I mean, the fact that QXC, I mean, there's already little hints that he wants to prepare for, like, things like 6 pools, like the fact that this depot... The first depot is there, and then notice that he actually does start a barracks before he starts an engineering bay. I actually kind of want to see when he ended up spotting that. So I'm actually going to go into the scout mode. Did he just... Yeah, it looks like he just threw it down. This doesn't actually bug me so much. Especially when this drone appears. And then all those other drones appear. A lot of times a player will start the engineering bay, get it to like a third, pull off, poke in, pull back out again, and continue building if it is in fact an early expand. But I mean, this looks pretty prepared for some sort of early pool. But I do think that there's a weird tendency of people to just sort of blindly do stuff. Like, I played a game not long ago on Jungle Basin where a player just straight up did some cannon madness at my backdoor expansion. So I just killed him. I didn't even worry about the cannon stuff at the back. Yeah, my expansion got shut down hard. Oh, man, it was terrible. He even walled it in. It was miserable. But, of course, on Jungle Basin, if he does that to your expansion, his front door, I can just walk to it. There's nothing in the way. Like, if someone does some cannon business at my front on Steps of War, I have to go past the cannons to get to his base, right? It's harder. Not on Jungle Basin, so I killed him, right? So that's a big thing to consider. But I do think that there's a reason why people do it, and it's not just the whole, I delayed his expansion, delaying expansions is good. It's this way of limiting the possible strategies you're up against. That is so important. For instance, I will relate an Engineering Bay block to a Dark Templar rush. Engineering block completely shuts out a 14 hatch. You never have to worry about how to deal with a 14 hatching player. This means that you probably don't have to worry about those huge Zergling Baneling mid games that a lot of Zergs do. You just don't have to worry about it because his second hatch is so delayed that he just doesn't have the larva to support those big Zergling Baneling mid games. Kind of like what QXC Zenith has been doing in the GSL. If I Dark Templar rush, any build where he doesn't get detection, I just outright completely shut down. Are you having problems with someone going like 6 barracks on one base all in? Well, sure, just get a Dark Templar and then you're dunsies. It's no problem at all. So I will take one more question. But remember, both of those examples really are all about limiting people's options. So I will see... Pig or Hen says Terran had been consistently ahead in food count in Zerg. Why couldn't Terran just group together and attack the front and win? Yeah, I totally think he could have done that. I will just say that. Now I'll take another question. Yeah. Nukeman94 asks a question that says, Dear Day 9, do you think it would have helped Dimaga if he got Hydras or Mutas instead of heavy Infestor Zergling? So I wanna first note that Dimaga, I think, clearly was gearing towards this sort of... everything was very focused to leading up to the Ultralisks, right? It was like... it was get the Zerglings and start upgrading the Zerglings, which of course upgrades the Banelings. Then we get a lot of Zerglings and Banelings, and then we get a lot of Ultralisks, right? It literally was Zerglings and a Zergling Baneling into Ultralisk. And the Infestors were kind of there... to just add a little bit of support, but not they weren't... I don't think that they were as significant as the amount of Zerglings and Banelings that Dimaga had. Now, a lot of people, when they see that sort of very trim-focused style from Dimaga, where he didn't get Roaches, Hydras, or Mutas, they say, well, why don't we put some of those in? Sure, you see all Zerg players throw in some Mutalisks, do a little bit of damage with them. Sorry, my eyes are just... I'm just so tired. I'm a tired little guy. You see so many Zergs get the Mutalisks that when someone doesn't, you kind of go, well, why? Well, keep in mind that if you are going to be going, eventually, Zerglings, Ultralisks, and Banelings, if you get Mutalisks, that delays that whole plan. So in other words, the amount of money that you spent on the Mutalisks, those Mutalisks have to do more damage than their cost because it delayed all of what you were really trying to go for in the end. If, for instance, he even threw Hydras into the mix, well, gee, do we upgrade range first? I've actually seen a lot of players do this, and I think it's a mistake. They go for big Roach Hydra mixes early on, and they get the range and the carapace upgrade. And then as time progresses, they say, you know, I actually really did want to be going Ultra Zergling in the end. And then they kind of start all the upgrades late for the Zerglings and the Ultras. It's like it doesn't quite, they don't plug into each other well. So part of the reason why I love what Dimaga did so much is that he pulled so much stuff out. The perfect strategy is not about adding new things in. It's about peeling more and more things away. Ouch. Because honestly, it's kind of funny that a lot of Terran players were doing the everything build, which was like this Marine Marauder, Thor, Hellion, Banshee mix with medevacs too. They kind of just got everything. So they kind of wanted to get the attack upgrade for the Thors and for the Marines, and then they kind of had to get some Banshees. We probably should get 2 starports so we can get some medevacs in there too. And don't forget the stim and the combat shield and the concussive shell. Oh, we should probably get cloak for the Banshees to make them more useful. Maybe I could get a Raven in there. There's all these extra little pieces that are costing a little bit more. That the reason that everything style went out of style is that people could just fucking kill it, right? Here's my scary blob of everything. Well, it's a small blob, and I have a blob of only roaches, so I'll kill off everything, and then your 3 Banshees will be left. I'll retreat, and then I'll pick them off later on, right? People who tend to have less variety have more of the one thing that they're going for and more upgrades for the one thing that they're going for. So you kind of want to try to trim as much out. If you're too one-dimensional, you're very easily crushed by someone who's just looking and doing the obvious. But again, want to have nice and trim and slim. That's the end of the daily. Good night. I think I'm going to bed. I just don't know. I'll let you know soon. Soon I'll let you know, folks. Until then, good nighty-nighty, nighty-nighty-night. Sleep tight. And by the way, my recording has been getting a little delayed, so I'm going to ask everyone to type 7 when they hear me say this, just so I know. So that way I can stop the recording, because I don't want the archive, folks. Alright, yeah, looks like there's 0 lag. Wow, that was fast. Alright. Stop typing 7. Oh my god, stop typing 7. Alright, bye guys.